They buried my cat, and I buried their secrets. My cat, Leo, was more than just a pet. He was the fluffy, purring soul of our quiet suburban street. Everyone loved him, or so I thought. When he went missing, a cold dread settled in my stomach. For 3 days, I searched, calling his name, until my voice was raw. On the 4th day, I saw it. A patch of freshly turned earth in my neighbor's prize-winning rose garden. My neighbors, the Hendersons, they were the picture-perfect couple, always hosting immaculate barbecues and offering saccharine smiles. My heart hammered against my ribs. Primera vez tu no. That night, under the cloak of a moonless sky, I slipped into their yard with a small trowel. My hands trembled as I dug. It didn't take long. A familiar tuft of orange fur. My breath hitched, a sob catching in my throat. It was Leo. There was no collar, but I knew. Anger, hot and sharp, pierced through my grief. Why? Why would they do this and say nothing? They saw my flyers. They heard my cries. They watched me search, day after day, with those empty, pulite smiles. As I gently lifted Leo's body, my trowel struck something hard. Not a rock. It was a box. A small, metal lockbox. Curiosity battled with my sorrow. I took it. Back in my house, with Leo wrapped in his favorite blanket, I pried the box open. Inside wasn't jewelry or money. It was a collection of USB drives and a small, leather-bound notebook. My grief was now mixed with a chilling premonition. The Hendersons weren't just perfect neighbors. They were hiding something. The first entry in the notebook was dated 5 years ago. It detailed small-scale insurance fraud schemes. A faked slip-and fall here. A stolen laptop there. Annoying, but not earth-shattering. But as I read on, the entries grew darker. The USB drives confirmed it all with scanned documents, secret recordings, and encrypted files. Mr. Henderson, a respected financial advisor, was running a massive Ponzi scheme. He was systematically draining the retirement funds of dozens of families in our community. People who trusted him. Their life savings. Their futures. All siphoned into offshore accounts. The barbecues, the perfect lawn, the designer clothes. It was all funded by ruin. A new kind of anger took root in me. It wasn't just about Leo anymore. It was about Mrs. Gable down the street, who had to sell her home. It was about the Millers, who could no longer afford their son's college tuition. All these misfortunes I'd heard whispers about over the past few years suddenly clicked into place. They were all clients of Mr. Henderson. He had been preying on his own community, his own friends, with a smile on his face. And then I found the last entry in the notebook. It was from the day Leo disappeared. The stupid cat got into the garage again, tripped the silent alarm on the safe, had to get rid of it before it drew attention. Buried it in the garden. Martha is hysterical about the roses, but it's better than federal prison. My blood ran cold. Leo hadn't been hit by a car. He hadn't been sick. He had been silenced. He had stumbled upon their secret, and they had eliminated him as a problem. He died because he was a cat, being a cat, in the wrong place, at the wrong time. He died to protect their web of lies. For a moment, I just sat there, the weight of it all crushing me. Leo was gone. My neighbors were monsters. I held the evidence of their crimes in my hands. What was I supposed to do? Go to the police? They were smart. They were careful. The data on the drives was heavily encrypted. It would take experts months, maybe years, to unravel. By then, the Hendersons could be long gone, living lavishly on the stolen dreams of our friends. Justice felt so far away. That night, I didn't sleep. I just stared at the lockbox, and a plan began to form. A cold, meticulous plan. They had taken the soul of my street, so I would dismantle their soulless empire, piece by piece. They buried my cat. I would bury their secrets in plain sight. My revenge started small. I used a burner phone and an anonymous email address. The first target was the local gardening club, of which Mrs. Henderson was the proud president. I sent an email containing a single damning excerpt from Mr. Henderson's journal about how he used stolen money to import rare, illegal pesticides for her award-winning roses, the very roses that now grew over my Leo's grave. The email was simple. Ask Martha Henderson where the money for her orchids really comes from. Within a day, she was asked to step down. The whispers started. Next, I turned to Mr. Henderson's professional life. I found a list of his top clients on one of the drives. I didn't send them the complex financial data. That wouldn't work. Instead, I sent them audio snippets, short recordings of Mr. Henderson mocking them, laughing with his wife about how gullible Mr. Davis was, or how Mrs. Chun's portfolio was a sinking ship he was happy to ride. I sent each person a recording of Henderson talking specifically about them. It was personal. It was cruel, and it was devastatingly effective. Clients started pulling their money out, one by one, not with a bang, but with a quiet, unstoppable exodus. I became a ghost in their lives, a digital phantom haunting their every move. I used their own stolen money, through untraceable crypto transfers, to buy targeted ads on social media. The ads were vague but pointed, asking questions like, "Is your financial advisor living a little too well? Check their public records." The ads were geographically targeted to our town. The paranoia began to consume them. I watched from my window as their perfect facade began to crack. The lawn wasn't so manicured anymore. The arguments on their front porch became more frequent, their voices sharp and panicked. They started looking over their shoulders. They had their house swept for bugs. They changed their passwords. But they were looking for a rival, a disgruntled client, a professional enemy. They never once looked at the quiet woman next door, the grieving cat owner they dismissed with a pathetic, pitying glance. They thought I was weak, broken by the loss of a pet. They had no idea that grief can forge a will of iron. The final piece of my plan was the most direct. The Hendersons were hosting their annual, now much smaller neighborhood barbecue, a desperate attempt to project normalcy. As their few remaining friends gathered in the backyard, a large screen I had rented and set up in my own yard, right against their fence line, flickered to life. I had hired a freelancer to decrypt the most crucial file, the master ledger, a complete list of every person he had defrauded and exactly how much he had stolen. And so, as Mr. Henderson raised a glass for a toast, his own meticulously kept records of deceit scrolled slowly down the screen for everyone to see. Names, dates, and staggering amounts of money. The silence in their backyard was absolute. The smiles froze on people's faces. The betrayal was no longer a whisper. It was a public spectacle, displayed in black and white. They didn't even try to run. They just stood there, exposed and defeated. The police, tipped off by an anonymous email with the now decrypted ledger, arrived minutes later. I watched from my window as they were led away in handcuffs, their perfect world crumbling around them. The house, the cars, the money, it was all seized. The stolen funds were traced and, over time, returned to the victims. Justice, it turned out, wasn't so far away, after all. The next spring, I dug up the wilting, neglected rose bushes in their abandoned yard. In their place, I planted a small catnip garden. It's a quiet spot, and sometimes the neighborhood cats come to visit. They roll in the leaves, purring in the sun. The Hendersons thought my love for Leo was a weakness they could exploit and discard. But they were wrong. My love for him became my strength. They buried my cat, but in doing so, they unearthed a fury they could never have imagined. And I used that fury to bury their secrets so deep that no one would ever be fooled by their perfect, smiling lies again. Thanks for watching. If you or someone you know is struggling with grief or mental health, please know there's support available. You can connect with people who can support you by calling or texting 988 anytime in the US and Canada. In the UK, you can call 111. Please reach out for help. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories.